This episode of the SwitchCast was produced by Daniel Clift. Daniel is our first ever Switch Kaiser, thanks to his generous support on Patreon. Thank you, Daniel, and enjoy the show that he made possible. Hi, everybody. I'm KC.
And I'm JV.
And this is the SwitchCast, the post-Nintendo Switch 2016... No, it's 2017.
2017 already, Casey.
I know.
It's still early in the year. You're allowed to do that for a few
Yeah, but
weeks.
I got it right last episode. So, once you get it right once...
Yeah, you have no excuse.
Yeah.
I was giving you an out there, but okay.
Yeah, the 2017 presentation of the Switch special. We are fresh on the heels of a day... It was, what was it, about a 40-hour day for me, and
it's been like that for me too on my side. I've been very busy these past few hours.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's been pretty nuts. So we decided got to strike while the iron's hot. We got to get this all onto recording while it's fresh in our minds, and so we're recording today, Friday night. And seems like we have a lot to sink our teeth into here, so it's not going to be a regular episode. This is kind of a special format for this episode of the SwitchCast. And yeah, we're just going to go over the two main events and just basically what we've been doing for the past day and just everything we've experienced, because this has been a crazy, just getting pre-orders and watching the events and the Treehouse and all the games and figuring out which predictions were right and what questions are still in the air. So
it's been pretty crazy. On my side, I immediately went from going to work to getting home to prepare for the presentation and the Switch viewing party that we had. Yeah, then we gathered all the people from our community, hopped into a voice chat room, got freaked out together while watching the live presentation, and immediately after hopping off, continuously refreshing the different websites for pre-orders just in case. At around 2 a.m., I started drifting off, went to sleep, woke up at 6 a.m. to go to GameStop to pre-order there, got pre-orders on my phone at Best Buy while I was in a pre-order line at GameStop, and then now watching the Treehouse all day, and now we're here. So it's been busy, but not quite as busy as yours.
It was different. It's a different kind of busy, definitely for me. I mean, yeah, I left work early. Well, first, I was at work normally on Thursday, and I scouted the Nintendo store because I wanted to get an idea of what kind of waiting I'm going to have to deal with. Because when I got there was already about 10, 15 people on the line Thursday morning for that event there. I even talked to the guy who was at the head of the line there.
Oh boy.
Interesting. He was a cool dude. He was basically, he seems like he's a professional line waiter. Like he said after the Switch event and he pre-ordered, he was off like getting sneakers that are like going on sale someplace that you have to get online for. And
that's interesting. So he was essentially the Triforce of the early 2000s.
Yeah, he just gets a lot of stuff. I think he was probably getting extra like pre-orders everywhere to sell like the extras. That was kind of
right.
It sounded like it was his thing.
Not to discount people's experience, but it seems like getting pre-orders isn't that difficult this time.
I was talking about this, and it's easy to think, everyone's afraid because the NES Classic was such an undersupply.
Yeah, it was a bit of a debacle.
But that's not like a main flagship console thing. That's a totally different thing. That was like a side project. It wasn't intended to be you don't want to overproduce something like that because you don't expect it to be like that super popular, but it was super popular. So,
yeah.
All right. So it's not like, I doubt they intentionally shorted people. They were just like, I don't want to invest another $1 billion in something that we don't think is going to sell 1 billion, copies, but whatever. So everyone thinks that it's like a conspiracy to purposely create extra demand for it.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, and that's a pretty common sentiment among gamers, which, we don't really know is justified or not. But to be fair, for Nintendo, they've had a pretty pretty, messy track record for releases. The Wii U was a huge debacle also. And the Wii. Remember back in the day, the Wii was so hard to get?
It's funny. I don't remember having that hard a time getting it myself, but maybe, see, here's the thing. If you're one of these dedicated people like us, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably aren't going to have a problem getting a Switch because you're at least checking once a day at minimum to see, oh, it's out, I can get a reservation, and then you go and you find it. But when you surround yourself with too much people like us, you think... You're in this echo chamber. You think the entire planet wants to buy it. And then you get panicked because everyone you talk to is buying it. But no, you're like 5% of the population, like us,
That's a pretty valid thought, I think. Though, you had a pretty easy time getting the Wii back then.
I might have just been lucky. Maybe I was just lucky. I just feel like I went in... Maybe within the first 24 hours I went to, but back then I had friends at GameStops. I mean, that was a while back. That's when I still visited them regularly, and I had friends who would like, oh yeah, I'll reserve it for you when it comes in. So I'm probably a special case.
Right. And back then, there wasn't really as much of an online pre-ordering infrastructure. Yeah. So it's possible it was more difficult to really gauge that stuff back then. So,
yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
So maybe technology's caught up nowadays, and pre-ordering shouldn't be that difficult. But
yeah, I mean, I hear anecdotal evidence. Like some people told me that, oh yeah, this GameStop was out of them. Then I hear somebody else who told me on the Facebook group, oh yeah, I was there. A couple hours. Oh, I was there when they opened. They said they had 100 pre-orders to give out for that day, and he was number 5. And so. Maybe a week from now, I could see though, like a week from now, it might not be easy to get it. It might be very few left. And then the people who want to reserve it next week are going to be like, oh my God, under supply, or, it's impossible to get.
I could see that for sure. Though, I'm just glad that the people who really want it and are dedicated to it can get it fairly easily. And
I think
I'm sure the people who don't want to pre-order right from the get-go will not mind as much waiting for the actual launch day to buy it.
Yeah. I'm perfectly open in telling people if this was not something I was doing for the podcast, I would not have waited in line at the Nintendo store as much as I did. It's just not my personality. That it's not the kind of place I am in life in general. But since I'm doing this podcast and it was more of an event and it turned out to be pretty fun anyway, it turned out to be more worth it for me.
Right. And honestly, people within our community, like in the Discord chat and the Facebook group, had such a good time watching you line up and talking about that and rooting for you.
Oh yeah, that's right. I got all these voicemails. You guys, I saw you all sent me like these the voicemails.
It was great. We were all rooting for you.
No, that was great. I love that, guys. I might put a few in after the end of the episode. Maybe after, we close out, and you can listen to some of the lines of encouragement people sent me. That was really cool of you.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. It kind of felt like you were, a marathon runner. And we were kind of, your sponsors. It was fun. It was. Yeah. Thank you for experiencing that for us.
It was good. I haven't done that forever, and it wasn't as hard as I expected because I did get a little bit of mercy from Nintendo Store. We were waiting online, right?
Right.
And I'll skip the main part. I'll save that for our actual discussion. But so I waited in line. I got the into the event itself, and then after the Switch event, we watched the presentation. We just got outside and we lined up, or at least a few of us, maybe like 30 people, lined up immediately for pre-orders, which weren't going to be available until 9 a.m. And we'd gotten out of this thing around midnight. So we're lining up already. And, there was actually a few more people. And then they were like, you know what? If I'm going to have to wait till 9 a.m., nah, forget this. But 30 of us stayed. And then just as the store was closing up, the manager came out and she just gave everybody little, armbands and then said, hey, yeah, if you guys come back in the morning, everyone who has an armband just gets to go to the head of the line. It's like, you guys were here. We're not going to be here to watch it anyway. And you know what? Guards might tell you can't stand here. So these wristbands let us know you come to the front. So I was like, okay, cool. So around 1 a.m. I went home. I took 2 hours of sleep, took a shower, came back, and there was that line around the block, and me and the other 29 people got in the front of the line.
Yeah, as someone who's been on those lines before, that 2 hours of sleep is a big deal.
It was huge.
Yeah, being able to go back, take a nap and rest and get back in line, ready to actually get your pre-orders in. It's a big deal. And honestly, I think that's kind of the direction that these midnight launch lines are going. A bunch of, Apple lines for the new iPhones. They give out tickets so you can go home ahead of time. I stood in line for a bunch of Amiibos because I thought it was fun for some reason. And they would give out tickets for the amount of stock they have. So I think I think that's going to be more standard when it comes to these overnight line events. The
only thing I was disappointed was I had packed so many card and board games to kill that time overnight. Like, I was set to just game on the sidewalk the whole night, and just even just someone came over, and Tina, she came by and gave me an extra copy of King of New York that she had gotten by accident in the mail, and she was like, oh, here, I help your cause, and she gave me a copy of King of New York, and I was like, oh, we're gonna play this tonight, and then we're like, oh, we don't have to stay here for another 8 hours? Okay. All right. We'll take that option.
I mean, to be fair, what would you rather have?
Oh, no, I totally. But it's just, it's that little part of my brain was like,
oh, this could have been a fun camp out or something.
Basically. And it was super hot, though. Oh, my gosh. I couldn't have asked for a warmer night to be stuck outside. But at the same time, I was bundled up for, winter weather.
What was the temperature?
It was in the 50s.
Oh my gosh, so hot. Yeah.
That's really hot for here at this time
Seriously? of year. 50s here in Austin would be super bundled up. I would probably stay in the car all night.
I was sweaty and I felt disgusting.
Wow. So hearing that, I guess it's just crazy how relative temperatures are based on location. Because
Really
50s
is.
sound really cold to me right now. Anyway.
But, yeah. We'll hope to change it. I did blow up on Twitter that night, though. It was really great. We got I gotta say, we got somewhere between 200 and 400 new followers on Twitter because of that coverage. I was basically calling it live tweeting because it was
essentially live tweeting.
Yeah. But there was one or two things that people really took to. The mystery car that showed up. That was just some publicity stunt of some group. I don't even remember who it was, but
it was kind of cool, kind of creepy at the time.
It was because they really let their engine rev and they tried to get attention. They parked right in front of the store and just kind of sat there for a while. And, they were wearing the Guy Fawkes masks. And so we were curious what it was. And then that just exploded on Twitter, and a lot more people started watching then. And so if you're one of those new followers who joined us that night, thank you very much for finding your way to this actual podcast. And I hope that this is a great inaugural episode for you if you haven't listened to any of our previous stuff before.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is definitely not the standard, format of our episodes. We're kind of tired and delirious from this incredible past few days. So,
yeah.
And we just want to share the excitement with you guys. So
yeah. And so before we dive into the actual meat and potatoes here, I just want to remind everyone, one of the other big things that happened for us right before this event is we finally launched our Patreon campaign.
Yeah, man, that was such a incredible and humbling moment for me, at least.
No, that was totally.
Because, we're putting ourselves out there. We want to show that we're dedicated to this console and producing content for it. But, seeing the amount of support that everyone's giving us, even monetarily, is, heartwarming.
Yeah. No, it's really good. I was not expecting as strong of a turnout as it was. And I'm really happy that, we're halfway to our first goal. Let's put it that way, where we're trying to reach the point where we can say we're definitely going to give one episode a week once the Switch comes out.
Right,
And
exactly.
that is our first humble goal. If we get to that point where, that we're just obligated, we will always have an episode every week, one way or the other.
Yeah, I think our initial plans were to do it monthly or bi-weekly. Yeah, but, considering just how much you guys really care about this product and care about this community, it seems like it's something we want to dedicate more time to. So if you can, the Patreon page is patreon.com/theswitchcast.
Mm-hmm. And please forgive the amateurish video I threw together. I am not a video editor in any regards. I barely know how to use Movie Maker, but I tried my best to make a explanation video for it with my meager skills. We'll get a better one in the near future.
Yeah, it's something that we'll improve on as time goes on.
But you don't want to hear about that now. You want to hear us talk about all the new Switch reveals.
Right. I mean, that's I'm clamping or champing at the bit to talk about this. Chomping at the... I am very excited to talk about this.
Beneath, that's all.
You're right.
All right, let's go right into this, shall we?
Let's do it. Let's go.
So we got the Switch, we got the presentation. You were watching on, the YouTube or the website?
Yeah, I was, during the presentation itself, I was watching on YouTube along with a bunch of other people in our chat room.
Yes, in the Discord chat. So let's see, it started out a little slow. It was just we had the suits. In fact, everyone kind of laughed when, during the intro, they had, a big, exciting music thing, people cheering and all that, and they just cut to, 20 business guys sitting totally stone-faced in their seats, just kind of yep, we are businessmen analyzing the stock value of this entire procedure. Totally not enthusiastic.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how the people watching the presentation react to all these guys, because you had a live, audience to react with, to feed off with, while we had, an online audience to react to. And I don't think we really noticed that aspect of the presentation as much. We were all super excited.
Yeah, that's fun. So the first real piece of information we got was the launch date, I believe.
Yes, March 3rd, 2017. That was a surprise to a lot of us, because we did not expect it to be sooner than the March 17th rumors.
Right. And you know what? That's funny, because all I could think of is how many people tweeted at me mentioning, hey, that's my birthday. It's such a perfect day for them to release this system. Oh, it's coming out early. You better be getting an early birthday present then or something. And they can buy it and they wrap it up, and now you have to wait a few weeks to play it.
Yeah, I think I'm just grateful that it's coming sooner.
Yeah,
so
45, that's 45 days from now.
Yeah, that sounds so close, doesn't it?
It's really close.
It's a month and a half away. We were expecting, 2 or 3 months away. That's it's a month and a half.
Well, because we already trudged through half the waiting for this day, So it was really a 6-month wait, but we've just broken it up by trudging through this time till now, and now we're halfway there, and it doesn't even feel that far. And we cut off a few weeks because it's coming out the 3rd.
I'm incredibly excited. I'm so grateful that it's coming so soon. Mm-hmm. For personal reasons, I'm glad that it's coming so early, because it gives me extra time to play Mass Effect when it comes out later in March. Honestly, I was actually a little bit stressed out about it, because I thought they were going to coincide so much. But now it's spaced out a little bit, and I can play both.
That's good. I have no games that I am really anxiously playing right now. Pokemon's the only thing I'm really dedicating myself, so the sooner the better for me, because I'm purposely not getting invested in any long-term games. I'm going to play out my Pokemon, I'm going to touch a few iPhone games here and there, maybe go back and beat a game or two I haven't beaten, but I'm not getting invested in anything. I'm just waiting for this so I could dive in without anything holding me back.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair.
The next thing we got, the price. $299.99.
Right. I honestly, I'm okay with a $300 price tag.
Yeah, I thought that was fine. I mean, we all were expecting it between $250 and $300, and
Right.
that seems more than reasonable for what this is. I mean, how much do the other big systems cost when they first came out? Like when PS4 and Xbox One cost?
I know the PS4 during release cost the PS3 cost $600.
Okay.
I don't remember the cost of the original PS4 console release, but I'm pretty sure it was around $400 or $500
Yeah,
when it first started.
I always remember them. The different sized models would be between $400-500, and I believe at least one of those, like the Xbox One, had like a $600 version. So scaling with what we're getting for our money, I think $300 is an excellent price point, and I'm it's still under $300, and considering all the other stuff that we saw that makes me want this, that's I mean, I don't see anyone who'd be like, I can't imagine too many people feeling like $250 to $300 being a breaking point. Like, no, I was willing to pay $250, but $300 is out of my price range. It doesn't feel like there's that many like that.
Yeah, and the $300, I think that was it's still lower than my top or my ceiling for the console. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty grateful.
Any higher than that, I think, might have been a problem. Like $350, then I could see people starting to really fall off.
And I do want to give a quick shout out to one of our viewing party attendees. It's Todovsky. He was the one who called the $300 price tag, I believe.
Okay.
So good job calling it. We were kind of betting to see what the price would be, and most people said $250, but $300 is correct.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah,
everyone wants it. I put my money on $150.
You were doomed to fail there.
Nah. But this is a little now. Compounding the price though is what we saw next, and it was the online structure, how their online service is going to work, and they mentioned that it's going to be a paid service with a free trial period at launch. So when you get it, you could get a free month or two of whatever their online services are going to be, and then you have to pay. No word on how much that is going to cost.
Right. So while this does kind of sound bad for Nintendo people, standard Nintendo users, I actually kind of expected something like this to happen. If they want to keep up with the PS4 and the Xbox, they should have a unified online service, and that might cost additional money. So the fact that we might have to pay for online services means that there should be some legitimately good online features that are on par with PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live.
I mean, if they put into it something to make it worth it, I guess I'm okay. I'm very not used to this. I've never paid for anything of that type before. I never did like an Xbox Gold account. PS3 is the biggest console I own, so I never, got involved in even the PS4 thing. So I'm a little wary, but if it's a reasonable price, like if it's like, I don't know, I guess $5 a month isn't unreasonable to expect. I mean, what Xbox is like $60 for the year or something like that, right?
Right.
So I mean,
so for Xbox Live, it's $60. Originally, PlayStation Plus was $50, but then they bumped it up to $60 too. So that's around the price point that I'm expecting. The situation with that is if Nintendo's going to charge that exact amount for their own online service, we have to hold them accountable to make sure that their online features match what the other consoles provide.
And have to at least match, or at least be much cheaper. Like, I think it would be in keeping with what their plan with the Switch is if maybe it doesn't have to be as a robust a system, but if it is a reliable and it has all the basics and it works well, maybe something that would cost like $3 a month would be more palatable to the people who are looking for this kind of a budget system. I mean, there is the fact that you're going to be taking it to go, so you're going to have Wi-Fi, but I don't know. I feel like it would be more in keeping with their game plan if they had a cheaper, a little more streamlined online service than the other guys.
Right. We can't talk too much about this right now because we just know that it's going to cost something.
Right.
But, well, I'm sure they'll announce more details in the future.
Of course. All right, so we went from a boo to a yay.
Because a huge yay.
A huge yay.
This reveal got an incredible reaction in our viewing party.
The one thing everyone was kind of crying for, but no one actually really thought would come through.
No region lock for the Nintendo Switch. That is huge.
That is really game-changing. I mean, for some listeners who might not be quite as familiar, or maybe they've never encountered a problem with region locking, what does that really mean? What does that open up for the average gamer?
Right. So, whenever games come out, sometimes they come out exclusively in certain regions, and you're not able to play games that come out exclusively in Japan on American consoles or UK games on American consoles, that type of stuff. So now that region locking is removed from the Nintendo Switch, you're capable of importing games from international places and playing it on your North American console.
So, like, for example, even if that rumor turned out to be true, which it likely isn't, and let's say UK did not get Zelda for 3 months after launch, they could be like, who cares? I'm going to get the US version. We're just going to play the US version here.
No, this is actually a really big deal for me personally because there are so many games in Japan that have English releases but never come to America because of licensing issues or anything like that.
Yeah, because there are a lot of English-speaking, like all of Asia, or like most of, there's like a block that is like, one region that they lock games for, but it has a lot of English-speaking countries. For example, Phantasy Star Online, that I want to play on Vita, it has an English version, but it's only in Asia, and they never released it in North America, so I can't just buy that and play that. I will not have to worry about that. If there's a good game in English that I want to play anywhere in the world, I can just get it imported. That's great.
Right, exactly. There are a lot of English Asian releases in order to accommodate countries like Indonesia and Singapore and the Philippines, which don't really have as big a market to dedicate a full language release to. So they release it in English and it's unified, but it's still an Asian release. And now you can bring those Asian games to your American Nintendo Switch, and it'll work just fine.
Yeah.
In fact, I actually did something like that on my my Vita. There's the Gundam Breaker game that was never released in America.
Okay.
Due to licensing issues, but it's in perfect English, and I just imported it, and it works on my Vita just fine.
There's 2 games I've ever imported. It was first off with the Owenton games.
Yeah,
which were just games, and they weren't even translated, but I didn't need to because they're awesome 3DS rhythm games, and as long as you know how to touch dots in time with music, you don't care what language. In fact, it's even more charming that this crazy game wasn't in English. It was just insane Japanese, and figure out what's going on. The story's insane, but you get it,
Yeah, so I guess not to dwell on the subject too much. This just opens up a lot of options for you as a gamer because you're going to be able to bring in games that people would never bring to America in the first place. So this is a big deal.
And the only other one I just want to mention, I imported from Europe, for some reason never came here, was the sequel to Hotel Dusk, Room 312, I think it was.
Oh, interesting.
213. They had a really cool sequel that just, for some reason, never left Europe, and I was able to get that on import, so booyah.
I guess that also reminds me something that's relevant to Nintendo fans. Xenoblade Chronicles, the first one, released in the UK for the Wii, and then people just imported it to their American Wiis because it was region-free too.
Nice.
That's something you can do here.
They showed us a few software titles, but we can get more into those, I guess, during the Treehouse, because the next system-relevant thing they talked about was the battery life.
Yeah, so apparently the battery life is going to last between 2.5 and 6 hours, depending on how intensive the game is.
Like we said before, it was like, you lower the brightness, make the brightness higher, or, all those sort of things, or turn off the Bluetooth. You'll, change the life of the battery.
Yeah, it's really nice to hear that it's confirmed about 2.5 hours for the most battery-intensive games. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it can even reach 6 hours for some games sounds really good to me. So,
yeah, I can see that for definitely for puzzle games. If you're playing an RPG, you're playing something that doesn't require online connectivity. All those sort of factors, I think, mean that it'll probably lean towards the 6 hour mark, as long as you're not playing, Call of Duty on Wi-Fi.
Right, exactly. And I honestly believe 2.5 hours should be enough, especially if you're just going to be commuting and playing quick games here and there.
Yeah, I think that's decent. Like I said, 3 was generally my minimal acceptable level, and I think that this averages out to well above that. So I'm pretty happy.
Right, and the fact that they're using a USB-C charger means you can bring an external battery if you intend to play for longer than 2.5 or 6 hours. So
right,
that's fine.
And it can charge while you're it'll charge while playing. It won't just keep it in sustain mode. It will charge it up faster than you drain it while playing it.
Yeah, the USB-C, plug-in is a big deal. And that's something people who aren't as technical might underestimate.
I was surprised how cheering people were when that came out and confirmed. I didn't think that was something people would, understand like that. But they did, and they were like, yes, USB-C, woo!
Well, it's the future format, and I'm glad that Nintendo is recognizing that this is the future of non-proprietary plugs. I think it's good.
That's
I think it's good for the future.
Now, speaking of online gaming, local actually gaming, I didn't realize. So we saw in the original trailer 2 systems hooking up, 4-player game. Made sense that 4 players would be the logical max for most games. I never thought 8 systems could link up.
8 systems linked up locally. Isn't that kind of crazy?
That is bonkers awesome.
Yeah, people might be underestimating how huge of a deal this is too. If you think about it, this is a full 4 versus 4 game of Splatoon locally that you can play with people.
Yeah, it's true,
I think this is the first time that, console level games can be so easily played on the go with such a large group.
I mean, the first thing that came to my mind, that Splatoon thing is great too. That's actually even better than what I was thinking. But getting a full 8 players locally able to do a Mario Kart race, just do a whole track with 8 people, you can get half your office playing that for your lunch break.
Right. I think the Nintendo DS, the original Mario Kart DS, would be able to support this much.
That is correct. That did. I did 8-player Tetris a few times, and we did some Mario Kart tourneys like that.
But it's a big deal that these 8 systems can connect wirelessly, so you don't have to worry about fiddly LAN connections to plug them all together with console-level games. Yeah. That boggles my mind, I think, and it's something that people really should be excited about.
And getting 8 players is not anywhere near a pipe dream, because already, everybody in my office told me they reserved their Switches today, too.
Oh, yeah.
There is at least 5 other people who already day one wanted to pre-order it. So I am 6/8 of the way, or 3/4 for those who like lowest divisible numbers.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah. That is that's great. That's amazing. I can't get anyone to own even the same systems half the time, let alone we're all going to buy the same system and the same game. We're all going to have Mario Kart.
Imagine how amazing this is going to be at conventions.
Conventions.
It's going to in meetups and your league nights, and it's going to be crazy, I think. And it's a bigger deal than even the 3DS, which are dedicated handheld games. These are flat out console games.
Yeah.
You know, these are games that you would think would be tethered to a TV that you can bring around with you and play 8 systems together wirelessly. That's a big deal.
I'm gonna be on a bus going to a convention. I'm probably gonna find like 6 people to play a game with like that. You know, it's nuts. Yeah. All right, moving out. A couple little minor details, but still pretty fun. They showed the each of the 2 Joy-Cons on, you know, each of the 2 halves of a Joy-Con have a little button on them that do different things. The right one looks that is the amiibo sensor, so it does have amiibo support.
Hey everyone, Casey from the future just coming in with a little correction here. The amiibo detector is actually in the joystick, and that's where you have to wave it over, not the home button.
They've mentioned it before, but now we see it's supported on the controller, and so you just hover it over there.
Yeah, I was wondering where they were going to put the NFC sensor for amiibos. Some people speculated it would be on the tablet, but no, it's on the home button, so.
Yeah. The other button is the screen cap button.
That's right. So, yeah, so each of the, you know, home button equivalents on the Joy-Cons have a different purpose, which is pretty cool to me.
I think it's a really nice, like, good design, you know, good use of the space they have. It's a symmetric button that just does a different thing on each half, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, and I think I wasn't sure if it was just screenshots or if it was video capture. Do you remember if they confirmed that?
Right now, all I remember them talking about the other night was sharing your screen caps.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I honestly, if we're going to be saving video or streaming, I think it would be better for us to just have external hardware for it.
Right. Then they showed off, and I love the term they used it, sharing the joy. Which is when you take your Joy-Con, you split it into 2 separate controllers, and then 2 people can play with the smaller versions of the controllers. But very cleverly, I didn't notice in the previous videos the shoulder buttons that are on top of each of the...
Yeah, right. We definitely made note of that, and I was wondering how gimped you would be if you only used the Joy-Con, because I didn't think they would take into consideration the usage of the L and R buttons.
Yeah.
But no, it's right there. They included it.
They also showed that they'd had that the grip thing in case you want to like make the Joy-Con controllers a little more substantial in your hand.
Right.
It's just basically like a little rubber extension to it, so it just, takes up more space in your hand, which is cool. I guess if you're... a few people did express concern that it's like too small and, it wouldn't be comfortable to hold that thing. So this would fill out your fists.
Yeah, and it also has bigger left and right buttons. So
yes.
It would definitely expand on that as well.
The big surprise, though, on this whole Joy-Con front was the availability of different color Joy-Cons.
Yeah, this is definitely interesting. I'm a little mixed about it. I like the colors. I like that there's a red and blue. I'm a little iffy in the fact that they don't match.
I can see that, like, especially that they don't match they come as a mismatch. Like, I believe you'll be able to buy individual ones. They'll probably sell them as pairs anyway, actually.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. But if you buy multiple colors, you can put, the same color on both sides if you want to buy something like that.
All right. So there is a blue and red Joy-Con. So the Switch, there's a bundle with the Switch where the left side Joy-Con is blue and the right side Joy-Con is red.
Yes.
Separately, you can buy Joy-Con controllers that are both blue,
okay.
Joy-Con both red, or where the left one is red and the right one is blue.
Oh, so you can switch it up. So you can just unify the color scheme.
Exactly. So blue left, red right, default bundle.
Okay.
Separately, blue right, red left, fill it out,
I avoided this whole situation. I reserved the gray controller, the base non-colored version. And that's all I need. It's cool, the colors. I don't see any personal need for it. It's probably good for kids. Kids probably like that. It's pretty attractive for them.
And I think the colors are help indicate which player is player one and player
Yes,
two.
definitely.
Since there is not really as much of a light that would indicate that. For people who are going to be playing, sharing the joy mode of the Switch, the color scheme might be better for them.
It's very clear that the Joy-Cons are also pretty much Wiimotes. They have all that functionality plus a few other little tricks.
Right. And I guess we kind of should have expected this.
Yeah.
Some of us did. So
we kind of were. I mean, we said it seemed very, very likely. It didn't. We didn't think they were gonna leave out the motion controls that are just, especially in these little controllers that seem just already so easy just to hang around and move in different ways. They didn't show it off in anything before, but it just seemed like a given for Nintendo.
And going into kind of our next topic, there's definitely, upgraded functionality compared to the Wiimote for this thing.
Ice Cube technology.
Oh, yeah. So apparently they have a new HD rumble system, which gives such a granular rumble feel that you can tell when ice cubes are being placed in your hand like a cup or something. It's hard to describe.
If you pretended that your Joy-Con was a cup and it starts out empty, and if, let's say, the game animated that they were pouring ice cubes into your cup, you can feel when there's one cube, and if you shake it, you'll feel one cube rattle around. And if there's two, you could feel the difference between 2 or 3 cubes rattling around inside your Joy-Con.
Right, so this is a big deal to them.
Yeah, they did spend a lot of time explaining how revolutionary this rumble tech is. It's cute. It's it's one of those features that I can imagine just being like having a moment here or there in a few interesting games, but it's definitely not going to be a system seller for anybody.
Right, for sure. And integrating it into games like Breath of the Wild might be very, very immersive.
I can see that.
So it's a rumble feature, so you can integrate it into anything. And the fact that it's such a very precise rumble system might be something that developers would take advantage of even in standard games.
I could see some fun stuff like feeling the horse galloping underneath your feet, sort of thing.
Right, while you're going, or if you're shooting a bow, you might be able to feel something come out of your hands.
Right.
So I'm okay with it since it's something that standard developers can even take advantage of and add that extra element to their already existing game.
Or you'll just turn off rumble features on your games.
Yeah, to save battery. Right. Another interesting note with the Joy-Con features, the IR sensor seems a lot better than how the Wiimote is set up. Yeah, because before the Wiimotes were dependent on separate sensor bar that you had to place underneath the TV. It looks like that's not necessary for this level of IR anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it seemed like there was some sort of depth technology that would detect how far and near certain things are.
All right.
Which kind of reminded me of the Kinect distance functionality. So
at least that is one of the things we did discuss. We weren't sure about, but we were kind of talking about how will the touch screen translate to the actual TV interface, and it seems pretty obvious with those infrared pointers that we will be able to use them as our like mouse clickers, and probably won't need like a sensor bar or anything like that there.
Yeah, there was a very specific game that took advantage of the IR functionality.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we're going to skip the software stuff that they showed here because we're going to have to go over that all in the Treehouse review. So
yeah, for sure. They
mentioned that 80 games are in development. That's a pretty massive number.
Yeah, so that's a lot of games. And during the Nintendo Treehouse reveal, it's not necessarily tied to a specific game, but it might indicate hardware functionality. At the very least, we know Mario Kart is coming out, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and it runs 1080p, 60 frames per second throughout the whole gameplay on the screen.
Yes.
Off screen, when you're using the tablet mode, it's 720p, 60 frames per second as well, which is awesome. 60 frames per second on a handheld device. is huge. It's a big deal to me, I think.
No, that is pretty amazing, and I'm so used to the whatever frames per second I get on the 3DS. I'm not sure if that's the kind of thing are familiar with off the top of your head.
Right. So generally, top level 3DS games run at around 30 frames per second. Okay. Some minimal graphics games can kind of reach 60 frames per second, but mostly, the 2D games that wouldn't really take advantage of the frames anyway.
Mm-hmm. What about Vita? Does Vita hit 60, do you think?
It can approach 60 usually, but...
Because I feel like I definitely can tell the difference in frame rate from one console to the other when I'm playing between those two things. So I feel like I will appreciate 60 frames per second on the Switch as my handheld.
Right. The Vita usually goes around 30. It can approach 60 on most 2D games. Okay. But it's not a consistent 60. There's a lot of drops.
Gotcha.
With the Nintendo Switch on handheld mode, they claimed that it was 720p, 60 frames per second consistent. And for a game as frantic as Mario Kart, that's a big deal.
That's pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. And it does give us our first sense of misprediction by one of the people we talked about. And we did discuss, there was that one reporter from the Times who was saying that we could expect what was that thing, widescreen HD or something? Yeah, he was talking about that on the TV. HD. Yeah, and that we would get 1080p in mobile mode. So it sounds like that fell through. And I just mentioned that because a lot of people went with him because they disparaged against the blog video game journalists. And they were like, well, It's a Wall Street Journal guy versus the everyday blogger. He has to know more than them. So it just goes to show you that I just want to point out that people like, Emily Rogers and Laura Dale, that's her real name, are really great journalists that dig up some real information, and they should not be, brushed aside just because they don't work for, IGN necessarily.
Yeah, I think it's very wise to consider all facts, regardless of where they come from, just as long as they have some clout to back it up.
Yeah. And I think they did very well overall on this whole thing. They did extremely well. So, I mean, if anyone notices can look back and find some prediction of theirs that is just dead wrong, please point it out to me.
I think they've had a history of being wrong in the past. But
of course, yeah. They've had some wrong.
All leakers are like that.
Yeah. You're going to make some mistakes because your sources are only as accurate as they know, and
sometimes they might not know the exact truth, right. And that's how it is.
The Mario, I'll just mention that seeing Mario show up in what looked very much like a Manhattan.
Like New York?
Yeah. I'm like, he's come home, baby. Mario's back in Brooklyn!
Which is, I feel like that's a throwback to the Mario movies or something. I don't know.
Well, Mario originally, his canon was he was from Brooklyn.
He's from Brooklyn,
the Mario
right.
movie, that was his canon, and they kind of drifted from that over.
Because they wanted to separate him and bring him into in its own independent world. Yeah. But the fact that he's back in a kind of real worldish setting is very intriguing to me.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about that, but I just had to call that out because that was a very big moment for us when we were watching there.
Yeah, the crowd there, the audience, did they kind of cheer or freak out during that moment?
They went nuts when they saw Mario, because it was just a scene of the manhole cover and the city, and people are like, we're just, what is this game? I was expecting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to jump out of there or something. And then Mario came out, totally, surprised everybody, and they went nuts.
Honestly,
nuts.
Yeah, the way it looked, I was predicting a Wonderful 102.
Okay.
Like a sequel to Wonderful 101.
Yeah.
But no,
okay.
A Mario in a city setting is so much better right now.
Right, yeah. No, that is pretty cool. And like I said, we'll talk more about that in the Treehouse section. But some of the games that didn't get mentioned in Treehouse that I'll just go over, we saw a Xenoblade 2 trailer.
Oh, yeah. Which looks like, maybe a legitimate sequel, or we're not really sure what the story is going to be for that. but it looks, incredible.
Someone who's familiar with the story of Xenoblade 1 might be able to tell us if anything in there looked like a allusion to 1 from 2. Like there's those crazy monsters flying through the sky and it's just that crazy world. It was just really gorgeous, and it had it had some things that looked like they might have been iconic hints towards the first game, but I can't tell you since I didn't play it.
Right, I didn't play it either. I really got into Xenoblade Chronicles X, and the fact that they're bringing that gameplay to the Switch is so exciting.
Yeah.
Those games are incredible.
We got a first look. They hinted at the first thing that Atlas will be making. We got to see them. They flashed their name on the screen.
Yep, it was a Shin Megami Tensei game for sure, but
Yes.
we don't know, what line it is.
Right.
It's probably not Persona, but we'll see more details about that in the future.
Yeah. They went right into a really strange and unexpected Square Enix title that had this amazing mix of 2D graphics that looked like 16-bit sprites, They looked like Super Nintendo sprites, but in a 3D world with crazy lighting effects and other like the art in the backgrounds and for some cutscenes was just beautiful. Looked very Amano-ish. It looked like Yoshitaka Amano had his hand in this.
Yeah.
Either him or the Bravely Default guy.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like it has the characters of a classic RPG back in the SNES days.
Yeah.
But the lighting, the camera angles, the changing 3D depth of the characters is very modern.
And walking through these 2D stage environments, but still going foreground and background, almost like a Kirby game.
Honestly, as soon as I saw this, I was like, I bet Casey's going to really like that.
You are correct, sir, because that is, out of everything I saw that night, that is the one game I was like, that was made for me. This is my game. This is speaking to me. I know I want this game already, and whenever it comes out, it is an insta purchase. I don't even need to know anything else about it. I know, I can tell when a game is calling out to my soul. So Project, especially this weird name, Project Octopath Traveler. Yeah. And there were 8 characters in that screen, so I'm guessing it has to do with their 8 storylines coming together or something, but those were 8 heroes they showed in that still image.
Yeah, I saw that. This game is absolutely perfect for your sensibilities.
Yeah.
And I'm incredibly glad that Square Enix is going this route for future games with them. This doesn't look like a Final Fantasy game, so it doesn't necessarily have that Final Fantasy character nostalgia they can latch onto, and it seems experimental enough that they can go really weird with this.
Yeah, definitely. Another really weird thing. So we had rumors leading up to this night, and actually, there's a couple of pieces of news that I would have gone into normally on an episode, but I'm just going to point out that we didn't because most of it was rumors about what was going to happen tonight, and I'm like, well, why bother reporting news on rumors when all the facts are coming out? But one of them was that there's going to be another Warriors game using a Nintendo license that hasn't done it before, like a Dynasty Warriors or a
Hyrule Warriors.
Right, Hyrule Warriors type game with a new IP. Well, not a new IP, but another IP. And we got a teaser that kind of revealed what that was.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Fire Emblem Warriors. That's was
too perfect. Huge. That's too perfect.
If you think about it, of all of the Nintendo franchises, I guess other than Zelda, that would fit the Dynasty Warriors gameplay and feel, it would be Fire Emblem.
But that's
perfect.
But see, that's the main reason I didn't think it was going to be picked. And it was mentioned by people. I expected it to not be that because we already have medieval hero Warriors games. We have Hyrule Warriors and we have the regular Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors. They're already medieval, heroes with swords. Right. I didn't think it would. I thought they might mix it up and go for the Star Fox one, which I wouldn't want. I'm not saying. I just thought they would pick something that was in a very different type of setting, or even a Xenoblade Warriors. That would have I would have bet further. But I'm ecstatic that they went with Fire Emblem.
I think it's the perfect game for this formula of genre.
It is. There's tons of characters.
Yeah, there's tons of iconic characters. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Tons of iconic characters already about warring factions, which is great. You can have different classes for the minions you have.
Right,
for
right.
the lackeys. There's an already, iconic characters from multiple worlds that you can pull from.
Crazy magic going on, different settings, lots of opportunities for, malevolent forces. But which Fire Emblem setting / reality is the big question. It looked like Crom was in that trailer.
I'm pretty sure it was Crom that popped up at the end of that little teaser. We honestly don't know.
Right. But,
hard to say.
There is dimension jumping in the storyline. So.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's multi-dimensional factors going on in the story anyway.
If they throw in everything, I'm fine with that. But I just don't want them to leave out the Nor versus whatever that stupid group
Hoshido?
you liked.
Hey. Hoshido?
I don't want them to leave out the Nor versus Hoshido thing. I want that to be... obvious. If it's not the main, plot, that's fine. But I want that to be in there. I want my Nor family that I bonded with so much in that game to exist in this game.
I feel like there's at least going to be character interaction between those two factions, which
right.
would fulfill that little rivalry.
Right. Like what it would be a good setting for the aftermath of whatever side canonically wins, and it's okay, but now we still have these two families that hate each other, and we have to somehow get along. And what better reason for them some evil for them to fight against together. Anyway,
it's definitely interesting. We'll see how it goes in the future.
Skyrim confirmed. Boom. Really not much more to say other than we saw the director talk about it a little bit.
Which is cool. Todd Howard's my man.
I was confused by Suda51 coming on there and not really saying it. He talked about Travis Touchdown, so I'm assuming he's alluding to another No More Heroes.
No More Heroes.
But really didn't say too much. He was very reserved.
It was kind of funny because at that point he was very quirky and excited for whatever he was talking about. But the translator translating what he was saying was so monotone and chill about it. There was a bit of a mismatch there, so that was kind of humorous during the part of the presentation.
Yeah, very much, very much.
But we don't really know too much what his plans are, so we don't have to delve into that yet.
I'm intrigued, but we have nothing to go on.
It's probably No More Heroes.
Probably. EA showed off a new FIFA game so that the European sports fanatics have something to buy the system for.
Yeah, and that's actually a pretty big deal because FIFA games are popular amongst the more casual gamer crowd.
There's system sellers to some people, definitely.
Yeah, and the fact that the Switch is an on-the-go console might be a big seller for them.
Yeah, you have to have those main sport tent poles to sell it to a very large section of gaming populace that doesn't overlap with us, really, but I have to acknowledge and respect that they're there, and they move consoles.
Yeah, and the fact that a FIFA is on the Switch is kind of a big deal because it'll essentially pull the Switch away from the 3DS kiddie handheld viewpoint, and will let people who don't really know what the Switch is about understand that this is an actual console.
Yeah,
this is a real console that you can bring to go. It's not a 3DS that you can play on the TV.
Then we got the ending montage where they just threw up a whole bunch of games, and some of the ones I saw here that I didn't see anywhere else. We saw Rayman flash on the screen. Dragon Ball Z, a few Kamehamehas got in there.
Yep, that's going to please some fans.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that alone was what? Like a bunch of people watching their hair turned yellow, and they just,
Yeah. It's light blue now.
It looked like this Disgaea kind of game?
No,
showed
it's
up?
confirmed. I'm pretty sure it's confirmed Disgaea 5.
Okay.
It's for sure a Disgaea game.
Okay, it looked like it. I just like I definitely, that art style is was undeniably from that genre, but because they always make like games that are like that same, they're
Similar
basically
art
Disgaeas,
style.
but yeah, it's like, oh, it's in the demon world, but it's not actually a Disgaea game. It's like Phantom Brave or something like that.
Right, exactly. And honestly, I'm kind of happy about this. Disgaea has been available on consoles, and it's been available on the Vita for quite some time now. Mm-hmm. But whenever I played one, there have always been moments where I wanted to play this on a TV instead of the handheld.
Okay.
And vice versa. When I was playing it on the TV, there were moments when I wanted to just bring it with me to go.
Okay.
So the Switch will take advantage of my desire to do both. So
Disgaea is a series I love, but I can never put in the effort.
the time for it.
Yeah, they're so deep that
They really are. You can spend hundreds of hours on that game.
hundreds of
and not
hours making
get
that insane team and then finding that insane challenge that can only be beaten by your like ridiculous team that you've somehow reincarnated 100 times into more powerful bodies.
Yeah, it's one of those games that'll consume a lot of your time. If you have, if you can only get one game and you love that genre,
That's
this guy is the one to do.
That is exactly how I say it. I say all the time. If you can only afford one game and you have 2,000 hours to spend, yeah, there you go.
This guy.
Yeah. And we got some more Zelda stuff. I guess we could talk about that more later because we got it's just another trailer with more stuff to talk about, but we got more Zelda stuff to talk about at the Treehouse event. And that was pretty much the closing of this the
actual
main
presentation.
Yes. All right, so that is that event, and I purposely, like I said, I left some things out because we're going to be talking about them in a part 2, basically, episode that we're going to record probably Monday. I'm going to go to the event Sunday to try out a bunch of the games that were shown off in the Treehouse. So we'll have plenty to talk about there, and I'll be able to give my personal opinion on some of them. So
yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see both of our perspectives since me as someone who just watched the Treehouse, I can only see it visually, but Casey's going to be there, so his firsthand experience might be different from mine, and it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Yeah, but there was just a couple of things they showed in the Treehouse that weren't games by themselves, so it wasn't. I just wanted to kind of share the information, a really brief news roundup. And the first and foremost I thought was interesting, they showed off the Zelda bundles that will be sold when the Switch is released.
Right, apparently...
And that was one thing that they did reveal, that Zelda is coming out as a launch title, for those of you who are holding their breath.
Zelda's for sure a launch title, and I believe there's 3 different SKUs for Breath of the Wild. There's the standard one that comes with a game. Then there's the collector's edition that costs $100 and comes with a music collection, the coin, an interesting looking carrying case, and a parchment map.
Yes, the parchment map is really cool. The carrying case, though, that's the showstopper for me.
Yeah, it costs $99 for the carrying case, parchment cap, map, coin, music collection, and the game itself. And keep in mind, the carrying case would cost about $20 on its own, but it's exclusive to the collector's edition, so the price is pretty good.
It looks kind of like a carrying case for like the Sheikah slate. Like it looks like it has all that Sheikah kind of like
imagery,
imagery and icons in it.
Yeah. I think it's really good. Now, the ultimate Zelda fan bundle would be the Master Set. For $129, it comes with everything in the collector's edition and the game, plus a Master Sword of Resurrection little figure statuette that you can put on your table with a flower. And
it looks solid. It looks like an actual, like a hefty statuette, not like an amiibo of plastic.
Yes, exactly. It cost $129.99, and that might be something that you guys would want to check out. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a limited run, a limited print, so I'm assuming you have to really be quick to pre-order this thing.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like, I would want this, but I can't get, like, I'm going to be buying so much on launch date that I will not be able to, budget another $130
for that cool thing.
Right, exactly. Like, I need to get
case,
different games on day one.
Yeah, for me, I was able to justify the $100 version without the figure.
Okay.
Since, it's $60 for the game plus $20 for an exclusive carrying case. That's $80 on its own. Mm-hmm. And I can throw in another $10 for the coin, music collection, and parchment map. I think that was worth it for me.
I'd consider, if I don't find a better carrying case available separately somewhere, I would consider that, since it's like, all right, I'm basically paying $40 for the perfect carrying case plus a few other little things. I don't care about the music collection so much. I mean, it is really nice, but I'll just burn it to MP3s probably anyway. And then the parchment map is beautiful, and the coin, I love coins as like display items.
Yeah, and it looks like one of those really high quality collector's coins. So
yeah,
I'm excited for this.
And a bit of totally unrelated to the Treehouse news. But it was pretty impressive for some people. Shovel Knight was confirmed to have a new version coming out that will be available on Switch, and it has a whole bunch of extra little features, including a co-op mode, which is really the key there. And yeah,
I think it's perfect for the Switch too. Mm-hmm. You can share the joy. Right, and play Shovel Knight co-op on the go. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, right. To have a single screen that's big enough for two people to play a co-op game like that and just easily do it with that Joy-Con is, it's the one thing that portables in the past weren't able to do, was have, multiplayer.
Local co-op, yeah.
Any
Same
kind of local
co-op.
multiplayer without another console, totally.
It's a big deal on why the Switch is so unique, yet so familiar.
It's the only reason I bought that game on Vita called Nidhogg.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and it was like 2 players on one Vita. Only game I've ever seen do that. Anyway,
but now it's just standard on the Switch.
Yeah, and the last bit they mentioned. And this is coming up pretty soon. So we're gonna have a Fire Emblem Direct on the 18th. So that's probably going to be everything we want to know about the Fire Emblem Warriors. And I don't know.
We're going to have a lot of episodes for you guys coming up.
Yeah, seriously. So
especially with a Patreon, we're pumped up to produce content for you all.
Yeah, really. And, here, and part of our giving back to you guys, let's go into the community pulse where we answer your questions that you have sent us about the Switch.
Let's do it.
All right, so our first question comes from Matt Whaley, and he asks us, what game from other consoles, including past and current ones, do you want to be on the Switch?
Well, obviously, Mass Effect, but I know that's not happening. Uh-huh. There's a lot. There are so many. Maybe the Fallout games. Now that Nintendo is kind of partnering with Bethesda, I'd want the Fallout games to be available as well as the Elder Scrolls games. So that's something that I'm interested in.
I mean, as people know, I really don't play other consoles that much. The only thing I could say, though, is the last console game I played, which would be Final Fantasy XIV. I want an awesome MMO, if not that, something similar. But I'd say Final Fantasy XIV would be the console game I want brought over to the Switch.
That's a valid statement.
It's the only reason I still have my PS3 hooked up as the only console that is in my living room anymore. It's like someday I might cave and just start playing that again.
Yeah, welcome to modern times, Casey.
Why do you always say that as if like
No, it's totally fair.
I don't get that saying of yours. This thing, it doesn't mean what you think it means.
I know. So Aaron, or Sonic Tonic, asked, where is the Virtual Console?
I mean, we barely saw the menu, and I'm sure it's buried in there. But
I feel like the virtual console is going to be something they'll announce at a later date.
They'll have their own virtual console direct, I'm sure, or something like that.
Possibly, or they're going to hold off details until closer to launch or actual launch. I can't imagine them releasing the Switch without some games on a virtual console. But,
I did hear that there are going to be, I know there's going to be a virtual console because, we have gotten word about the GameCube being on there, and there's a certain number of titles that are being brought on over to it. Obviously, that's not the big, new, surprising thing that they wanted to show off in these events, and they only had a finite time because I was already there for an hour watching that trailer. They wanted to show us all the new stuff, not spend too much time showing us how much old stuff they're bringing over.
Yeah, they have a month of content to fill in. This might be something they'll announce later.
Yeah. Dustin, or at Dark Carnival, at Dark Carnival, asks, any hope for some kind of achievement system?
It's possible. There's no indicator for it so far, and during the Treehouse, there weren't any achievement pop-ups ever at all. So we don't know. Maybe
I would say with the online, if it's possible if you are part of that online service that they have, maybe it would be connected to that. So if there is one, pay attention when we learn more about whatever their online offering is, but it's not really their style, and it's not something I feel like a lot of Nintendo fans are, high priority.
Right. I don't think it's a high priority for them. I know they've had achievement systems on a per game basis.
Right.
So each game had its own isolated achievements. But now that they're going to a more unified online profile system, maybe they'll have a universal achievement system now. We don't know yet. It hasn't been shown in any Treehouse demos, so maybe. But it's more likely now than ever before.
Right. But yeah, I would definitely put the odds at pretty low. Next one from Jackie and Shane, or at No Filter Entertainment. Netflix, Hulu, HBO, apps, etc. would be great to have on the system for on the go.
All right. So, Netflix and Hulu are already on the 3DS and the Wii U, and even on the Wii. So I would suspect that the Switch, that license would pass over to the Switch, and there would be those video apps. I don't know about HBO because of the target audience,
right?
But it's almost certain that Netflix and Hulu will at least be on there.
I did ask a question regarding this a couple of weeks back, just on the Twitter and stuff, just to get people's general reactions, and I'd say about 2/3 of the people were rather excited for this as a thing. They were like, I would love to have those, features on the go. But about 1/3 of them were like, look, I don't need another thing. I have it on my phone. I have all that stuff. I really don't care to have Crunchyroll on my Switch and on all my other devices that already do it. Literally everything I have has these apps already. So I could kind of see where they're coming from, but I think that the Switch, in Nintendo's move to become more like a mobile, or adopt to the mobile methodology, I think we could expect to see more apps like that on there. I think that they're going to try to invent things that they can sell, and apps that would catch on in some weird way like that. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good chance that we're going to get all that stuff on there, except for like you said, HBO Go, stuff like that.
Yeah, there's no reason for them not to have Netflix and Hulu at this point. Wii U and Wii has it, 3DS has it. It's going to be on the Switch. I'm almost certain of it.
Yeah, they're going to want to make it your complete entertainment thing to go. So you're on the plane. You want to watch, some anime on Crunchyroll, you'll be happy to whip that thing out and have a nice little little standing TV on the plane ride. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that would work because of the Wi-Fi, but okay.
What do you mean? I've had Wi-Fi on half of my planes. I had pretty good Wi-Fi on my last few plane flights.
Yeah, I don't know if they supported video streaming though, but whatever. We'll see. Trains.
Yeah, your turn.
So, My Console Gaming asked, what do we know about backwards compatibility?
None. I mean, we know everything. None.
There isn't going to be, which is kind of, unique for Nintendo. They've always had some form of backward compatibility with their console.
Right.
Or not always, but in modern times, it's been a trend for them.
Yeah, I think they've pretty much confirmed there's no backwards compatibility. The cartridges are not... They're not 3DS cartridges. They just vaguely look similar, but they're very different in shape. And you're not going to play anything else in there. There's no other media that's going to fit in that thing.
Right. All of their previous consoles allowed for backwards compatibility because they were able to include hardware from the past generations.
Right.
This is not something that they can do for the Switch.
Like, what are you going to say? Is it, like, you have to think, like, what is this would be backwards? What would be backwards for this system? Is backwards for this the 3DS, or is backwards for this the Wii U? Because if it's the Wii U, where's the disc going?
Right. There's no disc slot, and for the 3DS, you can't really replicate two dual screens on it.
Yeah.
You'd have to include a stylus as well, so it's not something that they seem to want to invest in.
Right. It's not necessary, and yeah.
Yeah, with backwards compatibility, I was thinking the possibility of backwards compatibility on a digital level for the Wii U, for example, but they don't have that second screen. That second screen is, not present for for the Switch.
Right. There's no good way to, like, even if you split that screen in half digitally, it's now a weird long rectangle. It would not work.
It wouldn't be a good experience either way. So.
Even if you held it sideways, it's just not. You need a stylus for 3DS games to work, and it wouldn't work with a finger nearly the same way.
Yeah, so I think we can expect no backwards compatibility for sure.
Anthony at VideoGame554 wrote, "Will the Switch have me?"
I believe. Mm-hmm. I believe there might be Mii's. There was no show of it anywhere.
No.
Which is interesting.
I think there will be, though. I think I'm 90% confident that Mii's are just part of Nintendo's branding. It's not even a matter of it, like, being a feature they want in games. They have things like Miitomo that they're going to want to integrate. They have Mario Kart. Doesn't the new Mario Kart 8, like... Doesn't that have, like, Mii's racers?
Use Mii's.
Yeah, right. And basically the new one is an upgrade, and they said it has all the characters. I'm sure it's going to carry over all the features, so I'm pretty sure it'll have that for those sort of games.
Well, here's the current situation, though. It's already confirmed that the Miiverse and Street Pass will not be on the Switch.
Right.
And there were no showings of Mii's on the Treehouse videos. So.
Yeah, but you know what? The Wii, where Mii's started, had none of those features. It just had the online passing. It didn't need Street Pass. Remember, Mii's existed before Street Passing. That was just so I totally see that. Yeah, there's going to be Mii's. They're just going to work like they did back in the Wii days, and they'll have some way of passing them around, or people make them. I just think it's too important to the way Nintendo brands things.
Right, I can see that. Though there's also a chance that they might be ditching the whole Mii feature because they kind of want to show that they've evolved as a company and change up their branding to be a little bit more mature.
Actually, I never saw it as an... Nah, that doesn't... I'm just going to say nah.
You think that for sure there's going to be Mii's in the Switch?
I think there's going to be Mii's.
Is this our next bet?
Sure, let's do it. I bet there's going to be Mii's.
To be fair, you did win the last bet of there being unrevealed features on the hardware.
Well, but that was such a slanted bet. I told you, there's no way there's not something new. It was the most vague bet. I could have won that by saying, see, they have colors.
I know. But in this case,
this is a better bet. This is definitely a better bet.
I think this is a better bet. Yeah. So for me, no Mii's. KC thinks there's Mii's.
Yes.
Let's see how it goes.
All right. I only want to ask, I got a bunch of questions from American Gamer, but there was only one I really wanted to dig into. And that was, he asked me, why did Nintendo stock drop immediately after the presentation?
That is a good question. it's not something that we are necessarily qualified to answer.
I am. I'm a financial journalist, remember?
Oh, well.
I will
right
address
ahead.
this, but if you want, you can
Go right ahead.
All right. No, I am willing to put this out there as a former financial journalist. All right. There's a few things, and I even did some research on this because there's a lot of people who try to make up answers. Some people said, "Oh, the price tag was too high," and there's no like answer like that. Here's what happens. First off, investors are just generally crazy. Okay, here's a good non-political political example. The day our president-elect won the election, the stocks dropped a ton, and the next day they skyrocketed. What are you going to say? Whether you like whatever your political leaning is, you can make that sound like either way they're reacting positively or negatively to what happened, right? Because it's just people. It's a mass number of people involved in these things, and the way they react day to day is just almost unpredictable. Now, my real belief is what happened was the hype from the Switch has been building up, and I believe that Nintendo stock has been seeing a really strong growth over the past few months while anything was possible and all this hype built up and, just the sky's the limit. Now reality set in. It didn't matter what reality. There is a reality. They know what it is. And now it's just correcting. It's imagine as if it was just artificially blown up because people were believing the Nintendo Switch would be made of gold, cost $150, and, directly jack into your brain to make you live a VR world. Now it's not that. And so it's going to correct to the level that Nintendo stock, it dropped a lot now, it'll pick back up, and it'll level out at a reasonable place for the company, for what their future is.
I can definitely see that to be the case. In my side, I suspect maybe investors have noticed that this is the pinnacle of excitement for the console. Mm-hmm. So this might be the best time to sell at such a high price.
Yeah, right. You gotta buy low, sell high.
Yeah, so the Nintendo stock is so high right now, people might feel that it's a good time to sell, and with so many people sharing that same idea, the stock might plummet. That doesn't necessarily mean that people think the console or the company will do badly. It just showed that a lot of people had the same idea and sold at the same time.
We call that a market correction. All it is, it's just now it's going to level out where the company should be. I mean, look back at the Pokemon Go thing. How many stupid things happened with their shares skyrocket with Pokemon Go. Next week, it plummets when people realize Nintendo didn't make Pokemon Go.
The stocks fluctuate and change so quickly. It's unless you're actually invested thousands and thousands of dollars into Nintendo, it's not something you should really worry about.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all the time we have for questions or anything this episode here. So why don't we wrap things up, shall we?
Oh yeah, it's been a long day.
Yeah.
And it's actually been a pretty long episode too.
It has been.
And we have another part 2 episode coming up in the future, so
yeah, and
we have a lot of content for
we
you
will
guys.
Dive into everything from the Treehouse, and by the time we finish that, the next direct will happen and we'll have more stuff to talk about. So yeah, we're going to be very busy. So if you appreciate the busy work that we have been doing,
please consider going over to our Patreon page over at patreon.com/theswitchcast.
Pledging your support any way you can, even $1 a month really goes a long way in letting us, expand in what we do. You could also just follow us on social media at the SwitchCast on Twitter, and also don't forget rating us on iTunes gets us out to a lot of people. And in fact, it's been very effective, guys. We've saw a huge spike in our listenership over the last couple of weeks, and it's a large part because of those of you who have rated us on iTunes. So please keep it up. If you enjoyed the show and you haven't done it already, head over to iTunes right now that you're done listening and give us a good review over there. All right?
Right. Yeah, and we're incredibly active on Facebook. We've been notifying each other for when pre-orders are available. There's so much chatter and so much excitement.
Yeah, it's really busy.
It's palpable.
It's a really active and fun group.
Yes, and you should also check us out on Discord. The Discord chat has never been more active, so feel free to join us and join us in our excitement.
Yeah, and links to everything is in the show notes. So thank you all, and until next time,
switch it up.
Live from the SwitchCast News in New York City, I'm KC Smitty. Hey, that rhymes. We're over here at the live Nintendo Switch presentation event, where the line started forming around 6 p.m. Eastern for a show that starts at 11 p.m. What was I thinking? In the Swiss, we're hearing of rumors of a possibility that Nintendo of America's president, Reggie Fils-Aimé, could potentially make an appearance. We will report further as more details are revealed. Back to you, KC. Wait, if you're KC, then who the heck am I? I'm just some guy pretending to be KC because I'm jealous that I'm not in New York instead of being at work making phony newscasts thousands of miles away. This is Abe Martinez. Switch it up.
Hey, KC and JV, just finished the presentation, and I am way more excited, there you go, for the Switch. Especially for that Mario game. I'm usually not really into Mario, but holy crap, does that look awesome. Also, Skyrim and Breath of the Wild. Can't wait for what happens tomorrow at the Treehouse event. Switch it up!